Hello everyone, it's Morgan. Welcome to my channel. Today we are talking all things books and specifically books becoming movies, TV shows. I've got a couple books I want to mention that are already out, but this is my first themed book video. Very exciting. Normally I just do like little recap videos, but today we've got a theme. Also, we might have a couple 5-star reads, so stay tuned. I'm also going to tell you guys which books I would recommend you actually read, what TV shows I'm like counting down the days so I can watch it because the books were that good. I'm gonna give it all to you. Don't you worry. Okay, we're actually gonna start with a book that I read when I was like a senior in high school. I read it like right when it came out and I am so excited that it's now getting the hype that I feel like it always has deserved. Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This actually isn't the actual book that I'm holding. I only have the book cover with me right now because I let my sister borrow it because I was like, this book is so good, like you need to read it. But I literally rated this book a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads. It was so good. It's basically about a girl named Kaya and she lives in like the marshes of North Carolina, which is supposed to be like, she's kind of shunned because she lives in the marshes. She's like a marsh girl, but the book follows her life and all of her challenges and everything. And then you also get introduced to a character named Chase, which is like ends up being, kind of like a little bit of romance there. And then from there, a lot of stuff kind of starts to go down. Honestly, if you only read one book from this video, it's either this one or another one that I'm about to talk about that was also a 5-star read. But I just love this book, even though I did read it a while ago, probably like 3 years ago at this point. I just remember loving it. The ending was crazy. So good. Also, I think this book is coming out on Hulu on June 24th, so very soon. Okay, another book that I read a while ago. This is The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. The book I have is all 3 books into one. It's not that thick of a book, don't worry. This one is a romance. It is about a girl named Belly and her family owns like a beach house, but the family like shares the beach house with their family friends, and like the family friends have sons. I think there's 3 sons. So every summer these families get together and they spend the whole summer together like in their beach house. It's very like a sappy type of romance book, but I loved it. I would say this one would be a 4 out of 5. But basically Belly starts to feel like a love interest for one of these boys and everything just kind of goes from there. I don't want to give anything away. If you like romance books, I would definitely recommend that one. Okay, this next one is kind of just an honorable mention. It is the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them series. There's 2 books and I know the 3rd movie like just came out a couple months ago. They're not really like books, they're like screenplays, which I think is kind of cool. I did read both of the screenplays and I enjoyed them, but if you're gonna read the screenplays, I would say don't read the screenplays right before you watch the movie because it's literally like almost identical. Like it's different than reading the book and then watching it, you know what I mean? But I also wanted to say that I read this Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which also is a screenplay. So I think that would be so cool if they turned this into like a movie. But the only way that I feel like they could actually do it is if they got all of the original people to be in this movie because it like has all of the original people in it. Anyway, that was just an honorable mention. Okay, next up I read Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I rated this one a 3 out of 5. Also, I would say a couple of these books you definitely need to check the trigger warnings on, especially this book. But I really love how Sally Rooney writes. Now I like understand why her books are so hyped, so popular. Her writing is just really good. This was the first book I've read by her, and even though like I rated it a 3 out of 5 because I didn't love the storyline, I still think like her writing was really good and I'm interested in reading more of her books, but maybe like books that I'm more interested in the storyline. But one of the things that bothered me about this book was like how flawed the characters are. Like obviously that makes them more realistic and I do like that they were realistic people, but it made it so hard to read the book and like root for anyone in the book because I was like, all of you, like you all suck, like no offense, but they were just like not great people. So reading it I was just like, ugh, like be better. Also, this book comes on Hulu this year. It might already be on Hulu, but I don't have Hulu so I'm not sure. But another thing I didn't love about the book, and I would have probably rated it a little bit higher if it had kind of more of a juicier plot line, felt kind of like not really thick enough, like not juicy enough. I kind of wish it had a little bit more going for it, but honestly, they'll probably add a lot more drama into the TV show. And also, it kind of felt like one of those books where it was very focused on the characters instead of what's actually happening to them, which sometimes I like. It just has to be done in a very specific way for me to like it. But I think honestly, this might be one of those books where the TV show is better than the book. If this is out already on Hulu and you guys have watched it, let me know because I don't have Hulu. Okay, this next book is already out on Netflix as a movie, but I need to talk about the book because y'all, this is one of those where the movie does not do the book any justice, like at all. This was the other book that I said was a full 5 out of 5. I loved this book. I thought it was so good. It was beautifully written. It kept me engaged the entire time, and normally I have a problem with books that switch between like different years, like this would show you the past and then it would show you the present. Normally I don't like that. It kind of gets me a little tripped up, but this was written just in such a beautiful way where I didn't even have to think about that while I was reading it, and that's what I liked. And I just loved the storyline. It was amazing. Definitely, I would say read this one. It's so good. Next one, it's the last one I have an actual like hard copy for because most books I read on my iPad. This is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one I rated a 4 out of 5. I was like obsessed with this book for majority of it until I got to like probably like here, and then I was like, ugh, which was upsetting. I wish I could like tell you guys like the very specific part in this book that just made me like want to put it down and not finish it. There was literally like one tiny little thing in it that I was like, I don't really love this. Like about the end. I mean, that's why I can't tell you. Anyways, something funny about this though is that it's like about a band, and like you get, you know, it's kind of like a transcript of all of the band members. It's kind of like reading a documentary. So for the whole first half of this book, I thought that these people existed. I thought that this band was real. I literally went up to my dad and I was like, have you heard of this band? And he was like, no. And I was like, huh. And then I proceeded to look up this band on Apple Music, and then when nothing showed up on Apple Music, that's when I pieced it together that this is not actually like a real band. But I swear, thinking that they were a real band, like that made reading it so much more exciting. So I was like, oh, I can't believe this happened. It didn't, because it's not real, but it was exciting. But this book, obviously I loved it. It was so good, but I'm also so excited to see how they make this into a movie because I feel like they could go about this in so many different ways because of how the book is written. But this book is coming out on Amazon Prime this year. I don't know exactly when. Okay, my next book is Anatomy of a Scandal by Sarah Vaughan. This one is coming on Netflix this year, but I rated it a 2 out of 5. First, I would say check the trigger warnings if you're thinking about reading this book because it's a very, very heavy book, and I think that's a lot of the reason why I didn't like it. This is basically about a court case, and you get a bunch of perspectives. I think you probably get 3 or 4 different perspectives of what's going on, which I liked that part of it. There's not really much else I can say about what happens in the book. Again, I just think it was too heavy, and the ending was not good either, in my opinion. Okay, next up is a kind of pretty hyped book. It is 9 Perfect Strangers by Liane Moriarty. I rated this one a 4 out of 5. Definitely understood why it was hyped so much, and this is supposed to come out on Hulu on August 18th. I really liked this book. The only reason I didn't give this a full 5 out of 5 was because I felt like it was a really slow beginning, and then also the ending like was good, but I wanted more from it. Okay, I also read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I want to read more from Taylor Jenkins Reid because her writing I really enjoy. This book I gave it a 3 out of 5. It's basically about like this family who has a super famous dad, and you like learn about the family and their problems, and then you also get like flashbacks of the mom and dad like meeting and falling in love and having the kids and all of that, and it was good. What disappointed me a little bit about this book, and is why I didn't give it a full 5 out of 5 stars, was because they kept saying things like something crazy is gonna happen, this night isn't gonna end well, like things like that directly foreshadowed like something that's gonna happen in the future. That bothered me a lot because I like foreshadowing that's not direct, and then also because of that I had this crazy big expectation for whatever was gonna happen in the ending, and that expectation was not met at all. I felt like the whole first half was very slow. The second half was a lot better. It kept me really engaged the whole time, but then I got to the end and that was just really disappointing. One more book and then one like series thing that I want to mention. So the next book is My Policeman, which is coming on Prime this year, and this is the book that Harry Styles is going to be the lead in. So I rated this one a 4 out of 5. It was super engaging and it only took me a couple of days to read it, which I feel like that's how you know I liked it. Basically, this is about, it's kind of like a 3-person type of focused book. So you have the main lead, which I can't remember her name off the top of my head for some reason, but then you also have Tom, who is the policeman, and then you also have another guy named Patrick. So you get the story between Patrick and Tom, which is like, you know, like, and then you also get a story between like Tom and the girl. I think her name is Marin, but it was written as like Marin is writing a letter to Patrick, and then the other parts were Patrick's diary, which I loved how that was written. I think they like really complemented each other, but the only thing that tripped me up with how it was written was that each section would be saying like you, and so sometimes when I would like be reading and it would switch to the next part, I would be a little bit confused because then I would put the book down, and then when I would keep reading I'd be like, wait, I forgot who was writing this. So that was the only like big issue with how it was written. It's basically just something to pay attention to if you read this one. And then the ending. Y'all know if you watch any of my other book videos, I like endings that give me everything. Like I want to know everything. I want a crazy ending. The ending did not give that to me. It was a good ending. The only thing I wanted more from it was more of like what happened after the ending. Okay, my last thing is I wanted to mention the Bridgerton books because I read every single book in the series. I rated the whole series a 3 out of 5. The only thing that I didn't like about it was how the author wrote things. I just felt like she repeated things a lot, but I talk more in depth about those in my other book videos, so I don't want to go too in depth here again. But I always tell people if you're thinking about reading the series, then you should read one of the books in the series, and if you like her writing, then, you know, go for it. I would say my favorite book in the series was the third one, so I'm super excited for the next season of Bridgerton to come out. That one was kind of like Cinderella inspired, but that is it, you guys. Those are all the books that I've read that are becoming TV shows and movies. If you guys want me to do another video like this, I definitely will. Let me know if you want any more like themed book videos because these were really fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! Guys, look at my pants.